Captain Vextal stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the small blue planet on the main screen. The planet looked ordinary, nothing special about it at all. Water covered most of its surface, and white clouds moved slowly across the continents. His crew had been traveling through space for 3 months, checking planets for the Galactic Council. This was just another stop on their long journey. "Sir, we are picking up radio signals from the planet," said Officer Heltan from his station. "The beings down there are trying to talk to each other using very simple technology." Vextal nodded. Most planets they visited had some kind of basic communication. It was normal for young species to develop radio before they learned to travel between stars. "What else do the scans show?" Dr. Kesara, the ship's scientist, looked up from her computer. "The planet has about 7 billion inhabitants. They live in separate groups and fight with each other often. Their technology is very basic. They have only sent a few small ships to their moon." "Fighting among themselves," Vextal said with a shake of his head. "That always happens with young species. They will either learn to work together or destroy themselves. Have you found anything else interesting?" "Not really, sir. They seem like every other primitive species we have studied. They have short lives, weak bodies, and spend most of their time in conflicts. I see no reason to contact them or include them in galactic society." Vextal was about to agree when Dr. Kesara spoke again. "Wait, sir. I am seeing something strange in my scans of their biology. Could I have permission to take a few specimens? For study? There might be something worth looking at." The captain thought for a moment. Taking specimens was normal practice when studying new species. The beings would be returned safely after a few days of tests. "Very well. Take 3 or 4 of them. But be careful not to let the others see you. We do not want to frighten them." Down on Earth, Marine Sergeant Jake Morrison was leading his squad through training exercises in the mountains of Colorado. The sun was setting and the air was getting cold. His men had been running, climbing, and practicing combat moves for 12 hours straight. They were tired, but Jake pushed them to keep going. "Come on, soldiers," Jake shouted. "The enemy won't wait for you to rest. Push harder." Private Danny Cole stumbled and fell. His face was covered in dirt and sweat. "Sergeant, I can't go anymore. My legs feel like they're going to break." Jake walked over and helped Danny to his feet. "Cole, you think you can't do it, but you're wrong. Your body can do much more than your mind thinks it can. That's what makes us human. We don't quit when things get hard." Danny took a deep breath and started running again. Jake smiled. He had seen this happen many times before. When people thought they had reached their limit, they could always find a way to do more. As the squad ran through the forest, bright lights appeared in the sky above them. The lights were not like any aircraft Jake had ever seen. They moved in ways that seemed impossible, stopping suddenly and changing direction without slowing down. "Sergeant, what is that?" asked Private Lisa Wang, pointing at the lights. Jake stared at the strange objects. "I don't know, but keep moving. We have a job to finish." The lights followed them for several minutes, then suddenly disappeared. Jake made a mental note to report what they had seen, but he knew his commanders would probably say it was just equipment or weather balloons. Meanwhile, at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Dr. Lisa Harper was working late in her laboratory. She was studying how the human brain and body responded to stress. Her research was funded by the military, who wanted to understand why some soldiers could perform amazing acts of strength and courage under pressure. Lisa had been testing volunteers for months, putting them through difficult mental and physical challenges while monitoring their brain activity and body chemistry. The results were confusing her. According to everything she knew about biology, prolonged stress should make people weaker and less able to think clearly, but her test subjects were showing the opposite response. When she gave people harder problems to solve, their brains actually worked better. When she made physical tasks more difficult, the volunteers found extra strength they didn't know they had. It made no sense according to normal science. "This can't be right," Lisa said to herself, looking at the computer screen, full of data. She ran the tests again with different people, but got the same results every time. Her research assistant, Kevin Park, came into the lab carrying coffee. Still working on the stress response project? Kevin, look at these numbers. When I put people under extreme pressure, they don't break down like they should. They get stronger, smarter, and more determined. I've never seen anything like it in any other research. Kevin looked at the data on the screen. Maybe humans are just different than we thought. Maybe we're built to handle tough situations. Lisa nodded slowly. Maybe we are. But why would we evolve that way? It doesn't make sense from a survival standpoint. Above Earth, Dr. Cassara was beginning her examination of the human specimens they had collected. Jake Morrison was one of them, taken while he slept after the training exercise. The humans were kept in a comfortable sleep while she ran her tests. Fascinating, she said to her assistant. Look at these neural pathways, and these hormone production systems. I have never seen anything like this in 30 years of studying different species. What makes them special? Her assistant asked. Every species we know becomes weaker under stress. Their bodies break down, their minds stop working properly, and eventually they die if the stress continues too long. But these humans appear to have evolved the opposite response. Stress makes them stronger. Dr. Cassara ran more tests, checking her equipment several times to make sure it was working correctly. The results were always the same. Humans had biological systems that actually improved their performance when faced with difficult situations. This should be impossible, she said. No species can survive by getting stronger under stress. It goes against everything we know about how life develops. But the evidence was right in front of her. These strange beings from the small blue planet had somehow evolved in a way that no other known species had managed. They turned adversity into strength, problems into opportunities, and obstacles into stepping stones. Dr. Cassara realized she had discovered something that could change everything the galaxy thought it knew about life, evolution, and survival. These humans were not just another primitive species to be cataloged and forgotten. They were something entirely new and potentially very important. She began preparing her report for Captain Vextal, knowing that what she had found would shock everyone who read it. The small, weak, fighting creatures on the blue planet might hold the key to understanding something fundamental about life itself. Dr. Cassara stared at her computer screen for the 10th time that morning. The numbers had not changed, but she still could not believe what she was seeing. She had run every test she knew on the human specimens, and each result showed the same impossible thing. Computer, run the stress response analysis again, she said. The machine hummed quietly as it processed the data. A few minutes later, the same results appeared on the screen. Dr. Cassara shook her head and called her assistant over. Meldar, look at these readings. Tell me what you see. Meldar studied the data carefully. These humans show increased strength, speed, and mental function when under stress. But that cannot be right. Every species in the galaxy becomes weaker under pressure. That is exactly what I thought, Dr. Cassara said. But I have tested all 4 specimens multiple times. The results are always the same. When I create stressful situations for them, their bodies produce more energy, their brains work faster, and their determination increases. She pulled up more data on her screen. Look at this. I put the male specimen through a series of physical challenges. Each time I made the test harder, his performance improved. His muscles became stronger, his reflexes became quicker, and his endurance increased. Meldar looked confused. How is that possible? Stress should cause system failure. I do not know, Dr. Cassara admitted. But I have something even more surprising to show you. She opened another file on her computer. I tested their mental abilities under pressure. I gave them problems to solve while creating loud noises, bright lights, and other distractions. Instead of becoming confused, they focused better and solved the problems faster. Captain Vextal entered the laboratory at that moment. Dr. Cassara, I need your report on the human specimens. Are they worth studying further, or should we return them and move on? Dr. Cassara took a deep breath. Captain, I think you should sit down. What I have discovered will be difficult to believe. Vextal sat in a chair near the computer. Show me what you have found. Dr. Cassara displayed her test results on the main screen. Sir, these humans have evolved something that no other known species possesses. They actually become stronger when faced with adversity. That is impossible, Bextal said immediately. No species can survive by becoming stronger under stress. It goes against basic biology. I thought the same thing, sir. But the evidence is clear. Look at these brain scans. When I put the female specimen under mental pressure, her brain activity increased by 40%. Her problem-solving abilities improved dramatically. Vextal studied the data. There must be an error in your equipment. I have checked everything multiple times, sir. I even used backup equipment to verify the results. The readings are accurate. Dr. Kesara pulled up more files. Captain, I studied the history of their planet using their own records. Every major advancement in human civilization happened during times of great difficulty. When faced with ice ages, they developed better tools and clothing. When threatened by diseases, they created medicine. When challenged by distance, they built faster transportation. Other species do the same thing, Vextal said. Yes, but not like this. Most species solve problems to reduce stress and return to comfort. Humans seem to use stress as fuel for growth. They actively seek out challenges and become stronger from overcoming them. Meldar added, I noticed something else, sir. When the male specimen woke up during one of our tests, he did not panic or become paralyzed with fear. He immediately began looking for ways to escape and fight back. Captain Vextal was quiet for a long moment. Are you telling me that these humans have evolved to thrive under conditions that would destroy other species? That appears to be correct, sir, Dr. Kesara said. Their entire biological system is designed to respond to adversity by becoming more capable. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Harper was having her own breakthrough moment. She had been studying the same phenomenon from the other side, not knowing that aliens were conducting similar research above her planet. Her assistant Kevin walked into the lab carrying a stack of papers. Lisa, I found something interesting in the historical records you asked me to research. What did you discover? Kevin spread the papers on her desk. I looked at major human achievements throughout history. The pattern is incredible. Every single breakthrough happened during times of crisis or extreme difficulty. Lisa picked up one of the papers. The development of agriculture during the last ice age, the creation of medicine during plague outbreaks, the invention of flight during wartime, the development of computers during global conflict. Exactly, Kevin said. And look at this data from sports medicine. Athletes perform their best under the highest pressure. Soldiers show superhuman strength when protecting their comrades. Students learn faster when facing difficult deadlines. Lisa felt excitement building in her chest. Kevin, what if this is not just psychological? What if humans have actually evolved to use stress as a performance enhancer? At that moment, her phone rang. The caller ID showed a number she did not recognize. Dr. Harper, this is Colonel Pete Davis from the Department of Defense. I need to speak with you about your stress response research. Lisa was surprised. How did you know about my research, Colonel? Dr. Harper, the military has been studying human performance under extreme conditions for many years. We have documented cases that will interest you greatly. Can you meet with me tomorrow? What kind of cases? Soldiers lifting vehicles to save trapped comrades. Pilots flying damaged aircraft that should have been impossible to control. Marines continuing to fight with injuries that should have been fatal. People performing feats of strength and endurance that our medical knowledge says are impossible. Lisa felt her heart racing. Colonel, I think my research might explain those cases. That is exactly what we are hoping, Dr. Harper. What we have discovered suggests that humans have capabilities that even we do not fully understand. Meanwhile, aboard the alien ship, Jake Morrison was beginning to wake up from the drugs they had given him. His military training had taught him to assess his situation quickly and calmly, even when waking up in strange places. He found himself in a small room with walls that seemed to be made of some kind of metal. There were no windows, but soft light came from panels in the ceiling. He could hear quiet humming sounds like machinery running somewhere nearby. Instead of panicking, Jake began to think strategically. He checked his body for injuries and found none. He tested his strength and reflexes and discovered they were normal. He examined the room carefully, looking for weaknesses or ways to escape. Dr. Kesara was monitoring him through hidden cameras. "Remarkable," she said to Captain Vexital. "He has been unconscious for 6 hours, wakes up in a completely alien environment, and his first response is to gather information and plan his next move. Most species would be paralyzed with fear," Vextal observed. "Yes, sir. But not humans. They seem to treat every challenge as a problem to be solved rather than a threat to be feared." Jake stood up and walked to the door. It was locked, but he began examining the frame and hinges carefully. He was not trying to break out immediately, but rather learning everything he could about his prison. "He is gathering intelligence," Dr. Kesara said. "Even in captivity, he is preparing for action." Captain Vextal watched the human with growing interest. "Dr. Kesara, I am beginning to think your discovery might be more important than we realized. If humans truly have evolved to thrive under adversity, they represent something completely unique in the galaxy." "What should we do, sir?" Vextal thought carefully. "Continue your research, but also prepare a detailed report for the Galactic Council. If what you have discovered is true, it could change everything we know about life and evolution." The massive chamber of the Galactic Council was buzzing with conversation. Representatives from 156 different species sat in their assigned seats, each group whispering among themselves. Captain Vextal stood at the center podium, holding Dr. Kesara's report in his hands. Council leader Zorthak called for silence. "Captain Vextal, you have requested an emergency session to discuss your findings on the planet designated as Earth. Please present your report." Vextal activated the large display screen behind him. Images of humans appeared, along with charts showing their biological data. "Honored members of the Council, we have discovered a species that challenges everything we know about evolution and survival." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many Council members looked skeptical. These beings, called humans, have evolved a response to stress that is completely opposite to every other known species. Instead of becoming weaker under pressure, they become stronger, faster, and more intelligent. Councillor Plexton from the Rigel sector stood up. "That is impossible, Captain. No species can survive by becoming stronger under stress. It violates the basic laws of biology." "I thought the same thing," Vexital replied. "But Dr. Kesara has conducted extensive tests. The evidence is undeniable." The screen showed brain scans and physical performance data. Under extreme stress, human brain activity increases by an average of 40%. Their muscle strength can increase by up to 300% in emergency situations. Their reaction time becomes faster, and their problem-solving abilities improve dramatically. Councillor Yathara from the Vegan Alliance leaned forward. "Even if this is true, what does it matter? They are still a primitive species with basic technology." Fleet Admiral Corthane of the Hegemony slowly stood up. He was one of the oldest members of the Council, and when he spoke, everyone listened. "Honored colleagues, I believe this discovery is more important than any of you realize. I must share classified information that will explain why." The chamber fell completely silent. Admiral Corthane rarely spoke at council meetings, and he had never shared classified information before. For the past 500 years, our intelligence services have been monitoring a disturbing trend across the galaxy. Every advanced civilization eventually reaches what we call the stagnation point. He activated his own display, showing population charts and innovation statistics from dozens of species. After achieving technological and biological perfection, species lose their drive to grow and improve. Birth rates fall, scientific advancement stops, and entire civilizations begin to fade away. The data was shocking. Species after species showed the same pattern. Rapid advancement followed by a long, slow decline. The Carathians achieved perfect genetic engineering 800 years ago. Their population has dropped by 60% since then. The Veltari created unlimited energy sources 400 years ago and have not developed a single new technology since. The Zephyrians eliminated all disease and conflict from their society 300 years ago. They now spend most of their time in virtual reality simulations. Councillor Melthari from the inner world stood up. Admiral, what are you suggesting? I am suggesting that the galaxy is dying, Corthane said bluntly. We have all become so comfortable, so perfect, that we have lost the ability to grow and adapt. Our civilizations are slowly becoming extinct through comfort and stagnation. The chamber erupted in worried conversations. Many council members had noticed similar trends in their own societies, but had not understood the broader pattern. Admiral Corthane continued. These humans may represent the key to survival. They have evolved to thrive on the very thing that we have eliminated from our lives: adversity. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Harper was meeting with Colonel Pete Davis in a secure military facility. The Colonel had brought files containing decades of classified research on human performance under extreme conditions. Dr. Harper, what I'm about to show you must remain confidential, Davis said. We have been documenting cases of impossible human performance for over 50 years. He opened a thick folder. In 1987, a mother in Georgia lifted a 3,000-pound car off her trapped son. In 1993, a firefighter in California carried 4 unconscious people out of a burning building in conditions that should have killed him. In 2003, a soldier in Afghanistan continued fighting for 3 hours with injuries that our medical experts said were immediately fatal. Lisa looked through the files with amazement. These cases match exactly what I found in my research. Humans consistently perform beyond their normal capabilities when faced with extreme challenges. That is not all, Davis said. We have also been studying communities that faced major disasters: hurricane survivors, earthquake victims, war refugees. In every case, the communities that faced the greatest hardships came back stronger than before. He showed her photographs and statistics. New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina built better flood protection systems. Japan after the 2011 tsunami developed improved disaster response capabilities. Countries that suffered through wars often experienced rapid technological and social advancement afterward. Lisa felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in her mind. Colonel, I think humans have evolved to use adversity as a catalyst for growth. We do not just survive difficult times, we use them to become better. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison had been studying his prison for hours. The alien technology was advanced, but he had found several weaknesses in the room's construction. More importantly, he had been listening to the sounds from outside his cell and had begun to understand the patterns of activity aboard the ship. The door to his cell suddenly opened. Dr. Kesara entered, followed by 2 guards. "Do not be afraid," she said in surprisingly clear English. "We do not intend to harm you." Jake remained calm and alert. "Where am I and why did you take me?" "You are aboard our research vessel. We have been studying your species because you possess unique biological characteristics." Jake processed this information quickly. "You are not from Earth." "No, we are representatives of the Galactic Council. Your planet has been under observation as part of our standard survey procedures." Jake saw an opportunity. Instead of showing fear or anger, he became curious. "What did you find that interested you?" Dr. Kesara was surprised by his response. Most species would be terrified to learn they had been abducted by aliens. "We discovered that humans respond to stress in ways that no other species can. You become stronger when faced with adversity." "That makes sense," Jake said. "We have always known that pressure makes us perform better. Athletes train harder before competitions. Students study more when facing difficult exams. Soldiers fight better when protecting something important." "But do you understand how unique this is?" Dr. Kesara asked. "Every other species in the galaxy becomes weaker under stress. You are the only beings we have found who become stronger." Jake thought about this. Maybe that is why we have survived so long on Earth. Our planet has never been easy to live on. Ice ages, natural disasters, diseases, conflicts, we have always had to fight for survival. "Yes," Dr. Kesara said excitedly. "That is exactly what we believe. Your species evolved on a world that constantly challenged you, so you developed the ability to turn those challenges into strength." Back in the council chamber, the debate was growing intense. Some species wanted to immediately contact Earth and recruit humans to help revitalize their dying civilizations. Others wanted to protect humans from galactic contact to preserve their unique abilities. A few saw humans as a potential threat to the established order. Admiral Corthane raised his hand for silence. We must decide carefully. These humans may be our only hope for preventing galactic extinction, but we must not destroy what makes them special by exposing them to our comfortable way of life too quickly. Council Leader Zorthak nodded. We will form a committee to study the situation and recommend a course of action. Captain Vextal, continue your research, but do not make contact with Earth's governments yet. As the council session ended, representatives from dozens of species began making private plans. Some wanted to study humans secretly, others wanted to recruit them openly. A few began to wonder if their own species could somehow rediscover the drive and determination that humans had never lost. The discovery of humanity's unique nature was already beginning to change the galaxy, even though most humans had no idea they were being watched. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council first learned about humanity's unique abilities. The galaxy was now divided into 3 groups, each with different ideas about what to do with Earth. The preservationists, led by Councillor Yathara, wanted to keep humans completely isolated from galactic society. They believed that contact with advanced alien civilizations would destroy humanity's ability to grow stronger under stress. If we give them our technology and solve their problems, Yathara argued during a council meeting, they will become like us, comfortable, safe, and eventually extinct. The integrationists, supported by Captain Vextal, wanted to slowly introduce humans to the galaxy. They believed that careful contact could benefit both humans and other species without destroying what made humans special. We can learn from each other, Vextal said. Humans can teach us about growth through adversity, while we can share our knowledge to help them avoid the mistakes we made. The expansionists, led by Admiral Corthane, wanted to immediately recruit humans to help save dying civilizations across the galaxy. They saw humanity as the only hope for preventing galactic extinction. Every day we wait, more species slide further into stagnation, Corthane said. We need human advisors working with our populations now before it is too late. Dr. Kesara had been working on a compromise solution. She called it the Resurrection Protocol, and she was about to present it to the council. Honored members, she began, I propose that instead of trying to change humans to fit our society, we learn to reintroduce controlled challenges to our own species. She displayed her research on the main screen. I have been studying volunteer populations from several species. When we create manageable difficulties for them to overcome, some individuals show improved performance and increased motivation. Councillor Plexton looked skeptical. You are suggesting that we deliberately make life harder for our people? Not harder, Dr. Kesara corrected. More challenging. There is a difference. Humans do not enjoy suffering, but they thrive when overcoming obstacles that test their abilities. She showed video recordings of her experiments. I worked with a group of Karathian volunteers who had been living comfortable lives with no challenges. I gave them progressively difficult puzzles to solve and physical tasks to complete. The videos showed Karathians struggling at first, then gradually improving as they faced each new challenge. Their posture became more confident, their movements more energetic, and their problem-solving abilities increased. The results were remarkable, Dr. Kesara continued. After 6 weeks of controlled challenges, these volunteers showed 25% improvement in creativity, 30% increase in physical fitness, and significantly higher levels of life satisfaction. Admiral Corthane leaned forward with interest. Did they maintain these improvements? Yes, sir, but only as long as they continued to face new challenges. When I removed the difficulties, they quickly returned to their previous state. On Earth, humanity was about to experience its first official contact with alien civilization. The Galactic Council had finally agreed to reveal themselves, but only to a small group of carefully selected humans. Dr. Lisa Harper had been chosen to lead the human delegation. She stood in a conference room at the Pentagon, along with Colonel Pete Davis, Ambassador Katie Sullivan, and several other government officials. They were all waiting nervously for the aliens to arrive. Remember, Colonel Davis said, They have been studying us for months. They know more about us than we know about them." A bright light filled the room, and 3 alien figures appeared. Dr. Kesara stepped forward, followed by Captain Vextel and Admiral Corthane. "Greetings," Dr. Kesara said in perfect English. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We have come to discuss your species' future role in galactic society." Ambassador Katie Sullivan, a former astronaut and diplomat, took charge of the human response. "Welcome to Earth. We are honored by your visit, but we have many questions." "Of course," Captain Vextel replied. "We will answer what we can." Katie asked the most important question first. "Why are you here? What do you want from humanity?" Admiral Corthane stepped forward. "We need your help. The galaxy is dying, and your species may be the only hope for survival." He explained the crisis of galactic stagnation, showing holographic displays of declining civilizations across the stars. The human delegation listened with growing amazement and concern. "Every advanced species eventually becomes too comfortable to continue growing," Corthane said. "But humans have evolved to use adversity as fuel for advancement. You are unique in the galaxy." Dr. Lisa Harper found her voice. "Are you saying that our struggles and conflicts are actually advantages?" "Yes," Dr. Kesara replied. "What other species see as weaknesses we now understand are your greatest strengths." Meanwhile, Jake Morrison had become an unofficial ambassador between the human military and the alien researchers. He had been working with Dr. Kesara's team, helping them understand human psychology and behavior. "The key thing you need to understand," Jake explained to a group of alien scientists, "is that humans do not just survive difficult situations. We learn from them and become better." He pulled up historical examples on a computer screen. After World War II, the countries that suffered the most damage rebuilt themselves stronger than before. Japan and Germany became technological powerhouses. The United States developed new industries and social programs. The aliens took careful notes. They had never seen a species that could transform destruction into construction, setbacks into comebacks. "But you cannot simply create artificial hardships for other species," Jake continued. "It has to be meaningful. Humans fight harder when we are protecting something we care about or working towards something we believe in." Dr. Kesara nodded. "That is what we discovered in our experiments. The challenges must have purpose and meaning, not just difficulty." Back on Earth, the human delegation was learning about the galaxy's 3 factions and their different approaches to humanity. "The preservationists want to leave us alone completely," Ambassador Katie Sullivan summarized. "The integrationists want slow, careful contact. The expansionists want us to help them immediately." "What do you recommend?" Colonel Davis asked the aliens. Captain Vextel answered thoughtfully. "We believe in gradual integration. Share knowledge slowly, maintain your challenges, and help other species rediscover their capacity for growth." Dr. Lisa Harper had been thinking about the implications. "If we agree to help, what would that involve?" "Human advisors would work with volunteer populations from different species," Dr. Kesara explained. "You would not force change, but rather demonstrate how to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth." Admiral Corthane added, "We have already identified several worlds where this approach could prevent complete societal collapse." The humans looked at each other. This was far beyond anything they had imagined when they first learned about alien contact. Ambassador Sullivan spoke for the group. "We need time to discuss this with our governments and our people. This decision affects all of humanity." "Of course," Captain Vextal said, "but please understand that time is not unlimited. Every month we delay, more civilizations slide closer to extinction." Jake Morrison, who had been listening through a communication link, added his perspective. "From what I have seen, both sides can benefit from this partnership, but it has to be done carefully. We cannot lose what makes us human in the process of helping others." Dr. Kesara smiled. "That is exactly the kind of thinking that makes your species so valuable. You instinctively understand that growth requires balance between challenge and support." As the meeting ended, both humans and aliens knew they were standing at a crossroads that would determine the future of galactic civilization. The choice they made would either save countless worlds from extinction or potentially destroy the very qualities that made salvation possible. The Resurrection Protocol was more than just a plan to revitalize dying civilizations. It was humanity's first step toward becoming teachers and partners in a galaxy that desperately needed to remember how to grow. 2 years had passed since first contact, and the galaxy was changing in ways no one had expected. The Resurrection Protocol had been implemented on 12 different worlds, with results that amazed even the most optimistic supporters. Ambassador Katie Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above Keslara Prime, watching shuttles carry the latest group of human advisors down to the planet's surface. Keslara had been one of the first worlds to volunteer for the program, and the transformation had been remarkable. "The population growth statistics just came in," said Dr. Kesara, joining Katie at the viewing window. "Keslara has recorded its first positive birth rate in over 300 years. Katie smiled. "What made the difference?" "Your people introduced something we had forgotten existed," Dr. Kesara replied. "Competition. Not warfare or conflict, but friendly competition that pushes beings to improve themselves." Down on Keslara's surface, Jake Morrison was coaching a group of young Keslarans in what humans called obstacle course racing. The aliens had initially been confused by the concept of deliberately making physical tasks more difficult, but they were beginning to understand. "Come on, Veltan," Jake called to a struggling participant. "You can climb that wall. Your body is capable of more than you think it is." Veltan had never attempted anything so challenging in his life. On Keslara, all physical barriers had been eliminated centuries ago. Buildings had ramps instead of stairs. Transportation was completely automated and no one ever had to exert themselves physically. But something strange was happening to Veltan as he struggled up the wall. Instead of giving up, he felt a new kind of energy flowing through his body. When he finally reached the top, he experienced something his species had not felt for generations: pride in overcoming a difficult challenge. "I did it," Veltan said, breathing hard but smiling. "I actually did it." Jake grinned. "Now you know what it feels like to push beyond your limits. That feeling is what drives humans to keep growing and improving." The success on Keslara was being repeated across the galaxy. On Vorthak, Dr. Lisa Harper had introduced the concept of research competitions, where scientists competed to solve difficult problems faster and more creatively than their colleagues. The innovation rate on Vorthak has increased by 400% in just 18 months, Lisa reported during her weekly video conference with Earth. They have developed 3 new technologies that their species had not produced in over 200 years. The Vorthakians had initially resisted the idea of competition among scientists. Their society had been built on cooperation and shared knowledge. But Lisa had shown them that friendly competition could actually enhance cooperation by pushing everyone to contribute their best ideas. Dr. Zeftar, the lead researcher on Vorthak, had been skeptical at first. "Humans," he had told Lisa, "our society achieved perfect harmony by eliminating competition and conflict." "But you also eliminated growth," Lisa had replied. "Competition does not have to mean conflict. It can mean everyone working to be their best while helping others be their best too." Now, Dr. Zeftar was one of the program's strongest supporters. His latest research project, developed in competition with his colleagues, had the potential to revolutionize energy production across the galaxy. The most dramatic success story was happening on Maltara, a world that had been slowly dying for centuries. The Maltarans had achieved such technological perfection that their entire society had become automated. Most citizens spent their days in virtual reality worlds, avoiding all real challenges or difficulties. Colonel Pete Davis had been assigned to work with the Maltaran government to reintroduce meaningful work and purpose into their society. It had been the most difficult assignment in the entire program. "The problem," Pete had explained to the Maltaran Council, "is that your people have forgotten why they exist. Without challenges to overcome or goals to achieve, life has no meaning." The EU Maltarans had been offended by this suggestion. "We have eliminated all suffering and hardship," Council Leader Morthek had replied. "Our people are perfectly content." "Content is not the same as alive," Pete had said. "Humans learned long ago that a life without struggle is a life without growth." It had taken months of careful work, but Pete had finally convinced a small group of Maltarans to leave their virtual worlds and take on real challenges. They started small, growing their own food, building things with their hands, solving problems without computer assistance. The results had been amazing. The volunteers began to show increased energy, creativity, and life satisfaction. Word spread, and more Maltarans began asking to join the program. Now entire cities on Maltara were shutting down their virtual reality systems and returning to active, engaged lives. Birth rates were rising, innovation was returning, and the planet was literally coming back to life. Admiral Corthane reviewed the reports from all 12 worlds with growing excitement. "The resurrection protocol has exceeded our most optimistic projections," he told the Galactic Council. "We are seeing the reversal of stagnation patterns that we thought were irreversible." But the greatest change was happening in the galaxy's overall attitude toward challenge and growth. The Galactic Renaissance Initiative, established by Ambassador Katie Sullivan, had created challenge zones throughout known space, where beings from any species could voluntarily face difficulties and test their abilities. These zones had become the most popular destinations in the galaxy. Beings who had lived comfortable, unchallenged lives for centuries were flocking to experience what humans called the thrill of overcoming obstacles. Jake Morrison now led the first joint human-alien exploration mission to uncharted space. His crew included volunteers from 20 different species, all eager to face the unknown dangers of unexplored regions. "Remember," Jake told his diverse crew as their ship approached an uncharted star system, "we do not know what we will find out here. There will be risks, challenges, and probably some failures along the way." His alien crew members, who a few years earlier would have been terrified by such uncertainty, now looked excited by the possibilities. "That is exactly why we volunteered," said Lieutenant Kexara, Dr. Kesara's niece. "We want to experience what humans call adventure." Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Harper had established the Galactic Institute for Adversity Studies, the first university dedicated to teaching the principles of growth through challenge. Students from across the galaxy came to Earth to learn what humans had always known: that strength comes from struggle, wisdom comes from failure, and progress comes from never giving up. The Institute's motto, written in dozens of alien languages, was displayed above the main entrance: "The only way out is through." As Jake's exploration mission transmitted their first discoveries back to the galaxy, Captain Vextal reflected on how much everything had changed. The routine survey of an unremarkable planet had led to the salvation of galactic civilization. "What we discovered on Earth," he said to Dr. Kesara, "was not just a new species with unique abilities. We discovered that life itself is meant to be a struggle, and that struggle is what makes life worth living." The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson: that adversity is not something to be avoided or eliminated, but something to be embraced as the engine of growth and the foundation of hope. Species that had been dying for millennia were now thriving again. Worlds that had been stagnant for centuries were experiencing renaissance. And throughout the galaxy, beings were rediscovering the joy of facing challenges and the satisfaction of overcoming them. Humanity had given the galaxy something more valuable than technology or resources. They had given them back their future. The aliens had not conquered Earth. Instead, Earth's example had conquered the philosophy of stagnation that had been slowly killing the galaxy for thousands of years. And in the growing network of challenge, zones, exploration missions, and competitive research projects, the human spirit of never giving up was spreading to every corner of known space, ensuring that the galaxy would continue to grow, learn, and thrive for generations to come.